Okay, hi. Cheers, peeps. Welcome to Hopefully Here. I am Hope. Stoked, as always, to have you. And we are going to talk about the books that I have checked out from the library right now. Now, the last couple times I've done this, the pile has been massive. It is a much more manageable pile of physical books this time, but I do also have some through the e-reader or the e-electronic app that my Libby or Overdrive, whatever you want to call it. And so we're going to talk about the books that I am hoping to get to and currently reading. Basically, this is, I guess, a very loose kind of June TBR. And I've got a lot of different stuff going on here. So let's get into it. But first, as always, grab yourself a coffee. Decaf, if you, like me, can't handle caffeine really. And let's get into it. Let's start first with the two that are, honestly, they're due back pretty soon. And I don't think I'm going to get to them. The first up is Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, which is the second book in the Stormlight Archive series. I read the first book in this series last year at some point. I finally got around to getting my hands on the second. I keep on saying, passing when the hold comes up for me, I pass on it. I've been passing on it for a while, and I finally this time was like, okay, let's take it and see what happens. And I just couldn't get back into it. I don't know if it's me, if it's the book, what's going on. It's probably more of a me thing. This book is due back in like 2 days, and I'm only 6% in. So I don't think it's gonna get read this time around. I think it's something that's just gonna get put on the back burner, and I will get to it again when I get to it. But I don't know if Brandon Sanderson is the writer for me, and that makes me sad because he's so well loved, but I've never really fallen in love with his books before, and it's a pretty big series to get invested into. I don't know that it's in the cards. It's not in the cards immediately, possibly in the future. We then have The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is another book that's been on my radar for a really long time, and it was available. I picked it up. I haven't touched it. It is due back soon. I don't think I'm going to get started in it. I think it's just going to go back into the possibly someday pile, and we're going to go from there. And honestly, I think it's a trilogy. I don't even know what it's about. I just know that people love it. That's why I grabbed it. Not a good enough reason if you're not feeling it to try to read something that's going to take that much of your time. So I think it's going to get put on pause for a little while. We then have A Very Typical Family by Sierra Godfrey. This is a book that I think just came up on one of the libraries, like sometimes they have curated lists. Hold. And this one sounded interesting. It's about a girl who, in the synopsis, it talks about how she's the reason her siblings were sent to jail. And years later, in order for them to get the inheritance of the house that's been left to them, they all need to come together and kind of get this inheritance together. So it seems like it's a family story. I don't know much beyond that, but it sounded kind of good. I don't remember what the list was curated towards with the library, but it was a list that had a bunch of books on it that I had really enjoyed. So I grabbed this one. I'm hoping to get to it. It isn't like a really pressing book, but it is one that definitely sounds interesting, and I hope to find time to get to it in the next couple weeks. The book that I am currently reading is A Broken Blade by Melissa Blair, and this is a fantasy romance, a romantasy possibly. I'm like 20 pages in, so I don't know exactly where it leans, but I have been feeling the fantasy sci-fi, except for Brandon Sanderson, lately, and this I think could just really be the book that I need to read. And I believe it's about a king's assassin, which sounds very Throne of Glass to me, so we'll see how it goes. I remember reading the synopsis and thinking it sounded interesting. I don't really remember much about it now, but as we're very shortly into this book, we've met the girl who's the assassin. I can't remember her name, and she's being sent on a mission to like infiltrate the dark fae or find out if an alliance is happening. Again, very, very new into the book. And there's a prince who seems like a bit of a dick. I'm hoping he's not the love interest. Like, I'm really hoping it's not him. But I guess we will see as the book progresses. But like I said, I'm super into, like, this is just what I feel like reading right now. And I have high hopes that I will enjoy this one. And then another fantasy that I have in e-form is The Coven by Harper L. Woods. And again, I think this is like a games type thing. It sounds like a bunch of people have to come together for some reason, and one of them is possibly the King's Daughter. Again, I'm not sure. It was on, I saw it somewhere on a list of like fantasy books. I don't know anything beyond that. I don't know if it's part of a series. I have it, and it seems like it could be very much what I am in the mood for reading. So those are the ebooks. Let's now get into the physical books that I have, and some of them are ones that I like really want to read, but again, I don't know if I'm in the mood for. We will see how the next few weeks play out. Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell, which is a fantasy science fiction. It's a science fiction book, and I believe it follows like a forced marriage and needing to create an alliance or something like that. Now, this is a book that I have heard very mixed reviews on. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go on it, but again, feels like it could be something that I'd really enjoy just because of the mood that I'm in right now. Not necessarily a book I would pick up on the normal side of things, but right now could be exactly what I'm looking for. We have The Other Valley by Scott Alexander Howard, and this sounds super intriguing. So you have the East and the West, and on the East, it's like a place that it like is 20 years in the future, and the West is 20 years in the past or something like that. And you can't cross borders, but I think somebody has the chance to cross borders where they're like, I guess it's like a time jump type thing. It is a debut, and it is, I picked this up because CBC, which is the Canadian broadcast company, I've talked about it a lot, is somebody that I get a lot of my book recommendations from. And this came up as a book that they were recommending and sounded absolutely fascinating. Okay, so it said something about her seeing something that she wasn't supposed to see, and now that she knows the result, maybe she wants to kind of change the future. So, very, very intrigued by this. It's not too long. It's less than 300 pages. Really, really keen to get to this one. We have The Act of Forgiveness by Maura Cheeks. I have been on hold for this book for so long that I don't remember at all what it's about. So give me a minute. It's another debut. We do like a good debut. Wow, a family grapples with how much of their lineage they're willing to unearth in order to participate in the nation's first federal reparations program. Wow. Okay, so this sounds like it could get pretty heavy and pretty hard, but I'm intrigued. We'll see how that goes. I have Shanghailanders by Julie Min, and this is a book that I feel like has been making the rounds. Forgive me for un momento. And yet another debut. And again, it's a book that I've heard people talking about, but I don't exactly know what it's about. So I'm curious as to where it takes me. Not too long. These are just like, I kind of just need quick reads right now. You know when you really want to get back into your genre of reading and you just want to find something great, but you know that your head's not there quite yet? I think that these will be helpful in that because they're not too long. They seem to be really interesting. I'm actually excited to read those. I feel like it's been a while since I picked up more just kind of literary fiction type books and been excited about them on my own. I've been reading through a lot of the prize lists and stuff, and so it's been dictated to me, which is great because then I don't have to think about it. But some of these are making me excited. And then I have Crosshairs by Catherine Hernandez. So Catherine Hernandez wrote Scarborough, which is this book right here. And it was one of the best books I read last year. I absolutely freaking loved it. And so I wanted to read her backlist. However, while I really want to read it because I absolutely love that one, the synopsis of this is not necessarily a book that I would be drawn to on my own. It's like a near future kind of dystopian tale. It's about a boy who is on the run from a fascist regime operated by a paramilitary group. Anyways, the synopsis itself wasn't one that I was super drawn to, but as an author, Catherine Hernandez, I've absolutely loved what I read by her and wanted to at least give her other stuff a try. She's a challenging author to get a hold of. American libraries don't really seem to carry a lot of her things. And so this is really the only other backlist that I could get a hold of for her, even though she has a couple other ones out. So if you're in Canada, or if you've read this, let me know, because like I said, I absolutely loved Scarborough. Not so sure about this one, but as an author, I definitely have to give her a shot. But those are the books. What else is going on? I've mentioned this a couple of times. I am also reading, I'm currently on The Mask Falling for the Shannon Samantha the Bone Season series. I've got some plans to do some big books. In my previous video, I talked about participating in the Big Book Summer Challenge. So definitely want to do that. I almost got started on the Count of Monte Cristo yesterday because I have a couple of days off, and then thought, I don't actually know if I want to do that right now. So I didn't, but that's okay. I will get to it at some point eventually. But tell me what you're reading right now. What do you have out from the library? What are you super stoked about? I always look at the comments and love getting recommendations and hearing what everybody's reading. So comment below and cheers. Happy reading. Bye.